Welcome to today's live. Thank God it's Friday. Whew. I need to share a request to Kim so she can join. Just inviting. I don't know why nowadays inviting is problematic, so weird. But hopefully it works. I need to send a number of invites for it to work apparently. Invite. Hey Kim,
Hi,
how are you?
good. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Just having pain in my knees, on my knees, so I have to have water.
Oh, goodness. That is no bueno having pain.
Yeah, it sucks. It's fine.
Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah. How was your
So how
week?
have you? Oh, it's good. Just busy, making jewelry, and I have all this.
Oh,
I have such a mess around me right now because I've been making clay earrings. So I'm hoping to bake a whole
yeah.
bunch of them because it's kind of smelly, but been doing that and making these pens. So these little
Oh, that's cute.
beaded pens. So, and I even have like, I'm working for like Christmas and like just
Wow,
fall
that's
colors. So,
pretty. I like.
yeah. And so, if you don't want to go too, outlandish, I have more muted colors. And so some are more bling bling than others.
Wow, pretty.
Yeah. So, and funny enough, the boys were really interested in what I was doing. I think it was just
Really?
the idea of being creative and putting things together and figuring out how
Yeah,
it worked.
yeah.
So, and my nephew, he, I don't know if I said this before, but he's been in there while I made it, my glass bead bracelets,
Yeah.
and he saw me throwing away some beads. So some beads, and it's just natural that when you get them, that they're broken or they're misformed. So they're not the perfect round circles. They have some imperfections. And so I was getting rid of them. And he's like, no, don't get rid of them. Save them for me. And I'm like, okay. So now I call this his janky bead collection.
Uh-huh, uh-huh.
And I'm going to make him the jankiest beaded bracelet that I can make. And the beads are growing, so it is hilarious. And we're having a lot of fun with it.
Okay,
I
I'm
should call
glad.
it my perfectly imperfect series.
Yeah, I'm glad he's doing that. It's good. Yeah.
Yeah, they've been taking a real interest in what I'm doing, and I talked to him about the background, how much money is spent, because in what I'm doing, you have to, of course, buy the items to put them together. So we're doing a little math with that as well to figure out, cost effectiveness of the business.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, what the returns minus the overhead cost is equals the profit.
right. So that's mainly what I've been doing. I don't This week is
Oh,
such a blur. I don't think I've had anything really exciting going on.
oh, wow. Wow, that
Yeah.
sucks.
I mean, really, I sit there and think about it. I mean, it's just I've been staying up way too late. I can say that. Um, Doing stuff with the business. So, I mean, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, it's bad.
Yeah.
So,
So
ooh,
you're not
yeah.
sleeping?
I'm sleeping, but I'm just not going to sleep till like 3 or 4.
That's
And then
cool.
I get up about 10 o'clock or so. So I'm like, because I gotta get other things started. And
Yeah,
yeah, so I need to sleep more.
yeah, Ali. You know what? I used to say, like, after my 9 to 5, like, I'll be sleeping late. And then I listened to this video that said that you need to be sleeping by 10 p.m. because between 10 and I know it's like 12, there's something that's happening to your body where it's getting rid of the waste, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, there was something. I don't remember the exact video, but I saw that video and I was like, oh my God. So it means sleeping early is actually good for me. So then I started to like get in bed by 9 p.m. I've been trying my best. Sometimes I just can't because there are other things I'm doing, but I've been trying to get to bed by 9, so that whatever process. Anyway, I just had the video and then I was like, oh, because I was like, you know what? Now that I'm not working, I should just be sleeping late, not going to the
Yeah,
office. I should just be sleeping late so I can wake up
right.
later. But nah, your body needs to sleep early.
I mean, and and that's the thing is I am not doing my circadian rhythm any
Uh-huh.
benefits by having these inconsistent uh, nights of sleep.
Yeah,
And it's really difficult because I'm such a night person. So that's when I feel my most creative and the ideas just come around. And I really would love to be a morning person. And that is my goal I'm working toward.
yeah,
And so it's difficult. I've always been a night person. So, um, from when I was younger till now.
yeah,
And I really strive to be that morning. Now, if I have to be up and out of the house, my hair will be done, my makeup will be on, I'll be
yeah,
nicely dressed, I'll be out the door, right?
yeah,
But because I work from home, I don't have to be out there. So now it's more of a task to have that consistency,
yeah,
um, to show up and to be early and not make the excuses on staying late. So,
yeah, true.
you
Yeah.
know, yeah.
Yeah, I also need to be consistent about my sleep time. Yeah, because between 8 and I should be done with everything. In fact, I should be in bed by 8 p.m. Because from 8 I need to talk to Chris until 9ish. Then now journal. I need to journal. I need to meditate. So I need to actually be in bed by 8 p.m. So sometimes I'm late. Like today I'll be late. So I also need to be consistent. It's actually really good to sleep at the same time and wake up at the same time.
Yeah.
Waking up actually has been consistent. 6:30 I'm up. Like it's like I'm just up by 6:30 and I'm like, sheesh. I should at least wake up at 7:30. So I stay in bed until like around 7:30, but not really sleeping. But 6:30 I'm up. So I hope to actually make it more consistent. It's actually really good to
It is. And
yeah.
it's good for your body because of that. There's a lot of studies that have been done, here in the States, and I know many other places. They have, you have workers or factory workers that were working these, what they called these rolling shifts. So, for 1 week or two, they would be working like a 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. And then the next week they'd work, or 2 weeks later, they'd work 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. And this constant change in their body was having effects on their circadian rhythm and their mental well being. And
Yeah.
so they had passed this law here that they could not switch their workers like that, because they had to wait a lot longer than what they were previously doing.
Oh,
So, and you need that for your body. Um, to be having that consistency of times, not just about shift work, because even if you're working at 6 p.m. to 6 a.m., as long as you're going to sleep and getting the proper amount of sleep, consistently at the same time, you're good. But it's that switching after a week or two of that and going to a different shift that starts affecting your body and your mental well-being.
Mm.
So, and that's why it's important for kids to go to sleep and be consistent with them, because children, even teenagers, need more sleep than adults. And so making sure they get the required amount of sleep is also
Mm.
important, which my son struggles with.
Mm.
Um, and he's been complaining a lot lately about having just problems going to sleep. And for him, he sits there and he tells me that he just can't fall asleep, and or that his mind just, there's so many thoughts, or maybe a song gets stuck in his head and it just keeps him up and he can't sleep. So we've
Mm.
been trying to remedy that by trying different techniques for him.
Mm.
So I've heard that you
Mm-hmm.
can do like mineral oil, rub mineral oil on the feet, and it's supposed to help.
Mineral
So,
oil. What's
but
mineral oil?
it's just an oil that you can buy. It's just I don't know enough to talk about it fully yet. Um, I briefly looked it up and thought, maybe I need to do more research to do this. But my son hates wearing any kind of lotion or having anything like that on his skin. So that's
It's a
I have to do
problem.
some convincing for him to do that.
Yeah,
But I don't know.
I mean he'll do it if the pain is too much to bear. Like not sleeping is sucks, I know. Like staying awake sucks. I'll be ready to do anything to fall
Right.
asleep. Yeah.
Are those times you feel so tired and so sleepy, and then you go to lay down, and all of a sudden your mind's like, just kidding, we're up, let's
Yeah.
go. And
Then
you're,
you can't
oh,
sleep. Yeah, then you can't
yeah,
sleep. I've been there. Yeah, it sucks. It
yeah.
sucks. But I don't know. I don't struggle with falling asleep unless I'm stressed. Otherwise I
Mm.
don't. Like I just fall asleep eventually. Um so I would, yeah, but I remember the time that I really struggled with sleeping when I was pregnant. I think the last month I just couldn't sleep. I couldn't sleep at all. Like I was so awake the last month. Oh my god. I think that's the only time I remember where I struggled with sleeping. Otherwise, I just sleep easy.
Yeah, I'm pretty good about when I'm needing to go to sleep, except for those rare moments that my brain goes, just kidding, we're going to stay up a little bit longer. But for the
Yeah.
most part, I don't have difficulty going to sleep.
Yeah.
Um, I would say probably the hardest time for me was when my husband passed away. So, or in that week leading up to all of that, it was hard to get to sleep. And then if anything woke me up,
Mm.
even if I had to just get up and go to the restroom in the middle of the night or a slight noise, I was up. So, I mean, I lived off of sometimes 2 and 3 hours of sleep, because I just couldn't go back to sleep no matter. And that's like a whole nother ball game, that whole process of emotions and things that are going on. And then afterward, they call it like a widow's fog that you go through, and you're just kind of going through the motions in life. I got that. I felt that very much. The not eating, I had to be forced to eat because I was not hungry at all,
Yeah.
and it made me sick to even want to eat. I've never felt that in my life. So that was a new thing. So that was probably the only time in my life I've really experienced sleeping issues, I would say. So,
Oh. Yeah. Yeah. That
yeah.
you remember vividly.
Right, right, right. What about Aiden? Does he sleep well?
Completely. Yeah, I mean, unless something has changed, but he actually sleeps well. But the thing is, because he's used to really waking up early from school, so he just like he has that alarm that wakes him up, like in his head. His body alarm is waking up at 6:30 also, but
Hmm.
he tries to go back. Yeah. So yeah, he has no problem sleeping.
That's good. That's good.
Yeah, that reminds me like, here children really wake up early to go to school. Like him normally would wake up like at 5.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, and you'd find like children who are so young, like as young as like 6 years, waiting for the school bus, and it's like 6 a.m. in the morning, and you're like, what time does this kid even wake up to go to school? I think that's so bad. It's ruining the children. If I had a school, I'd be like, let them get here at 9 a.m. Let your child wake up at like 7 a.m. or 8 a.m. Just make sure they're here at 9 a.m. But telling children to be at school by 6 a.m., 6:30 a.m., it's so weird. I don't get it. And they're children. I don't get it at all.
Yeah, even though sometimes I think the reason schools start when they do is that's usually about times that parents are going to work, and now that we've been in this time of having a two-parent household, working household, and or having a single parent, so it's only one parent and they're having to work, it kind of works around their schedule so they're able to see them off or get them up and ready for school, and you know back before they get or shortly after they get home. So I think it accommodates that as well. My son even homeschooled up until recently. The boy was getting up at like 5:30 in the morning, and I thought, you are crazy. I don't even get up that. I mean, the only time I got up that early is when I worked at a hospital,
Yeah.
doing therapy, and it was about an hour drive. And so I had and I had to be there by, I had to be there by like right before 7 a.m. And so to beat the traffic and everything, I was having to leave my house about 5:45 in the morning to get there. And there was still traffic because I was having to drive through Nashville to get there. But other than that, that wasn't because, oh, I'm just going to get up. My son doesn't have to get up at 5:30. He just chose to.
Yeah. He just wakes
So,
up.
yeah, well, now he doesn't. Now he's actually sleeping longer. So I don't know if these hormones or whatnot from, this teenage thing is finally hitting him, because he wasn't like that. And, when he was a baby, he stopped taking naps when he was probably around 2 years old, 2.5. He just wouldn't take any naps anymore. So when he was up for the whole day.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Oh my.
I think I was still taking naps at 5 and 6 years old.
Yeah. What what time are children essentially supposed to be sleeping? By what time?
It's different from, and I don't have it pulled up here, but it's different for all kids. They're at certain ages, they need about 13 hours of sleep, and so on. So it depends on the age, the recommended amount of sleep that they're needing.
I know they're supposed to sleep like 9 hours, no less than 9 hours. Um,
Right, but when they're younger, it's even more sleep.
13.
So yeah, it's like I said, I don't have it in front of me, so I can't tell you.
Yeah.
But there, you can look it up online. There's a chart that's recommended. It's kind of a baseline. We know each their own and do what's best for your child, but it provides a nice guideline about how much sleep children should be getting from what age to what age, and so on.
Yeah, absolutely. I think 6 to 12-year-olds need 9 to 12 hours of sleep. Oh my God. I don't think Aiden even got 9 12 hours of sleep. That's wild.
Yeah. So during the time from when, thinking when they had to get up, then what time they were needing to go to bed. So, like I said, it's a guideline, but no kid really needs to be staying up till midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning, getting up at 6. That's,
Yeah.
ridiculous. I mean, it's ridiculous for an adult to do it as well because you're not getting any sleep, or
Mhm.
any healthy, good sleep for
Yeah.
yourself
Yeah.
doing that.
Yeah, I think what's important is just the aspect of having like a consistent sleeping routine, like sleep at this time
Right.
always.
And having
Or
a routine before bed is also important.
a
Gets your
routine.
mind set and ready for that time. Even as an adult, that's good.
Then I'm sleeping now. I think as yeah, as an adult, I think reading helps because reading is like looking at the book actually helps you, I think, fall asleep. Now the problem for me with reading is that I still don't have like a bedside lamp, so I'm still using like my normal light, so that is like too
Uh,
bright.
you
Yeah,
need to
that's
get one of those book light things that hook to your book and have the light, and you don't have to get up. It's your light. I
oh,
don't know how else to describe it, but
I'm sure it's
sometimes
not.
you can charge them with a USB, but sometimes
Yeah,
they take batteries and it just clicks to it's a portable light and then clicks to your book and you can do that.
that's interesting, but I doubt it's in Kenya. I wish we had Amazon. I'll try to
Ugh,
find out.
if you had
Um,
Amazon, you'd be like me, just sign your check over to Amazon, be like, here, Amazon, take it all.
yeah,
It's so bad, but it's so convenient and it's so good, and you
yeah,
have access to so many things that you don't have to drive a million different places to look, to get. It's just
yeah.
right there.
I'll try to
So
find out if it's here.
I'll try and find a picture of something that I'm talking about and send it to you, like send you
Okay.
what I'm looking at. I'll
Yeah.
find some things.
All
We'll
right.
see.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Mm.
So yeah. So sleep. Talked about sleep. Talking about. I always felt sleep. I don't know. I'm tired because of the run. I went for the run. Ah.
Oh, yeah? How far did you go?
Let me check that in miles. Check in miles because I know you don't. 2 miles, 10 kilometers, 2 miles, 6 miles.
Wow.
Yeah, 6 miles. So trying to essentially, I just do the 6 miles. What I'm trying to do is like try to see how many miles I can go without stopping, and it's been better. Even my knees have actually improved. Like now, I'm starting to feel pain when I get to like I've increased. Like I no longer feel pain in the like when I'm starting the first mile and I'm in pain, but some miles I'm
You
like
know,
two
you
miles,
know
two and
what
a
they
half.
say that's good for your bones and your connective tissues and stuff like that. That helps is a supplement, a collagen supplement helps.
Collagen. So
Yes, the one that has all the different ones in it. I can I'll send you a picture. There's one I use, and I mix it in with my coffee in the morning, and I use it, and
yeah,
it's really helped me. And I've been using it for like a year and a half, 2 years now,
yeah,
and I've noticed a difference where I was having to take, like aspirin, Tylenol, Motrin, like different pain relievers all the time. I've not
uh-huh.
had to take any of that since I've used this collagen supplement.
Yeah, maybe that's a good one because I don't trust the other ones that I've seen because they might be mixed with some, you know, people products that are not safe. So I try to drink bone soup every other week
Hmm.
and eat some oxtail and eat some oxtail. But yeah, there's collagen. Yeah, even here there's collagen. I just look. I mean, unless I find something that is trusted, that someone has used and they're like, oh, this one I used, it worked. I just try not to.
It's so difficult because there's so many people putting a lot of products out there, and there are paid individuals that are out there like product is so wonderful, blah blah blah. So yeah, I'm
Yeah.
even myself hesitant, and I don't even remember
People
where
fall
I heard
for.
about this collagen thing, but I thought, it's a little pricey. I mean, because for about a month, I only do it once a day, but you can do it twice a day. Um, it's like for me, it was around $40 for about a month supply,
That's
but it
expensive.
really worked, and it's like I can't complain on that, especially when I
Yeah.
had all these other issues, and now since I've been taking them, they've been, alleviated. So I don't
Yeah.
know. It worked for me. I can't say for anybody else, but I'll send you the one that I use, and that's all I can speak on is that one worked for me.
Okay, that's nice.
So,
That reminds me when you talk about things like you listening to things that people are we have so many people who promote products because they are paid to promote, not that they have used those products and it's actually working for them. I give like I just had there was this story that's going on in Kenya about a lady who died doing plastic surgery.
oh no,
I think she was getting a liposuction or something. I don't know. I didn't follow the story. I actually don't follow stories normally. Anyway, so yeah, apparently she's the seventh lady to die in that particular clinic, which is also another story. But this particular place was being advertised by so many influencers, right? Like, an influencer is someone you actually trust. All of them were advertising, oh, it's a nice place, a nice place. So she went and she died in that place. So they're like,
hmm,
yeah, I think it's time that people actually do their own research. That's why I say, like, I always would not, same thing I've told you. No way I'm taking anything without doing my own research and also someone I trust telling me this is the one I used and actually worked for me.
right,
Everything now is just take it with a grain of salt. Someone says,
right.
oh, this is good. Oh, like, what would I say? Like, what would I say? Oh, Beyonce said it's good, let me use it. No way. In
And
fact,
and
I
and
don't
that's
trust
where
her.
we have to talk to our kids, our children about this because they're so influenced and everything they're doing is in front of a screen.
Yeah,
So having these conversations with our children
yeah.
is even more important.
True.
So they're not believing
Everything they
everything they
hear.
hear, see, or
Yeah.
read. Because I actually had something come up with my nephew who said something, and me, without even looking it up, goes, "No, you cannot do that."
Mm.
I said, "Where are you hearing this stuff?"
What did he
I
say?
didn't. We got into a conversation somehow about because it was something we were watching about Crocs. You know the shoes,
Yeah,
those
yeah,
Crocs,
yeah,
and he's like, they're not my favorite thing. So, but that's just my personal
yeah,
opinion. Okay, I
yeah.
know a lot of people who love them, and I
Yeah.
think that's great. And then, so he goes into this that he wants some and this and that. And I don't know how it turned, but he goes, if you were stranded, that you could eat your Crocs because there's some nutritional value. I said, honey,
It's a YouTube
where are you
videos.
seeing this? Why are you, what are you, and he's like, no. I was like, was it YouTube? And he's like, yeah. And I was like, did you look, because I even looked it up. I was like, he goes, you look it up. And I was telling him, I said, honey, no, you cannot do that. That's like, it's a plastic. That is not meant to be eaten for you.
Yeah.
So, and he kept saying, look it up, look it up. So I quietly looked it up. So there is whatever, some like tiny nutritional, like it's like such a little um, thing because of something in there, but it's a resin based non toxic product. So just because it's non-toxic doesn't mean you should eat it. And so this is obviously something that's been going around the internet. And
Yeah,
I said, honey, you need to look a lot
I
closer.
need,
I think he
I need to,
found what resonated, if because you can find the answer to agree with what you're thinking,
I need
but you
to,
got to push past that and keep
yeah,
looking to find the right answer.
I need to ask Aiden that. Aiden, come I ask you something. That's so funny. That when you're
Yeah.
stranded in an island, you can eat crocs. Aiden,
Well, if you're stranded in a desperate situation and you have Crocs,
you,
you can eat them.
but when you're stranded in a place and you don't have anything to eat, you can eat your crocs. What? Who said?
See?
Huh? Gun where?
Internet.
YouTube video.
Yeah.
See?
But that's crazy. What the hell? It's like
See?
it has nutritional value. You can eat
No.
those crocs. So, hey, God, that's crazy. Hey.
See,
That's,
I told you, even over there. See, it is nobody is immune to this BS that's going around on the internet. Do not eat your Crocs, people. Do
that's
not.
wild.
You're
That's
better off
wild.
eating grass and leaves around you, okay, than these
Crocs.
human-made chemicals put in your. No, come on.
I didn't. That's wild. Oh, God. That's, oh, my God. What? Okay. I think also the other thing that is, yeah, these are Crocs. But then I look at, we're having a conversation with Aiden and Aiden's friend, and the friend was like, he traveled to, like, I think it was Norway, and then he was like, in Norway, they give you Prime. And I was like, what is Prime? He's like,
Oh
Prime is
yeah.
that drink. Like, Prime, the drink that is advertised by, I know this guy called Jake Paul, I think. Like, that drink is not supposed to be drunk. You're not supposed to drink that one. You're a child. It has caffeine, blah, blah, blah. He's like, no, you don't know what you're talking about. I was like, you need to go do your research. What are the ingredients in Prime? It is full of sugar. It's not a good drink. Then they started laughing like I'm crazy. Like, I was telling them, they started
Because what do
laughing.
we know?
Like,
We're adults.
yeah, what does she do?
We're just party poopers taking their fun
Yeah,
away.
like she's crazy Prime. And then there's that, we talked about that cereal by Mr. Beast. I don't know if it was a cereal or whatever it is that he launched recently.
Sure about that one.
And I bet so many children are like, Mom, Dad, buy for me this cereal, buy for me this cereal. Yeah, but it's in the market, and I bet they have. I think even to check their sales, because I bet they have done sales because it's being promoted by Mr. Beast and another
Oh,
YouTuber.
there's so much going on with that person you mentioned. So I don't know what to think anymore. There's a lot of different things coming out, and
Yeah,
it makes me a little leery, because I don't think anything substantial has come out. It's just he said, she said,
yeah,
but it's kind of like, well, if the possibility that it is true comes out, that's kind of scary. Um, so I just kind of stay away from that individual at this time because, I know a lot of people will go after others because, they're well off, they're famous, they're trying to tear them down. And then, there's other times that things are coming out, like the P. Diddy situation, and, that's true. So, yeah,
yeah. So
ooh.
yeah, there's a lot. He's so far 4 million in sales. Let me see, $4 million in sales. Um, and okay, someone asked, is Lunchly healthier? Lunchly pushes the product as the healthier alternative to Lunchables. I don't know what Lunchables is. The numbers just don't entirely support it. Obviously, nutritionists and dietitians took a closer look at the product and said that in many cases, Lunchly's nutritional content wasn't much different from Lunchables. I mean, obviously, there's no way they'd make a product that would actually be healthy. There was a backlash on X that this product is not healthy for children. Um, there was a lot of backlash. Like, why are you lying that this is a healthy product? Why are you giving our children toxic products? Like, we don't want this. We don't want this. And people are actually making a lot of noise on that. But obviously, we know that there are still a few people who are silly enough to trust the celebrities and their endorsements of products of people, and ultimately, what does that do to your children? You have your children eating shit, toxic products because
Right.
Mr. Beast said it's a good product. Hi,
Right.
Simply Ken, we're talking about the food that our children eat. There's a lot of fireworks going on here because of Diwali, so there's a lot of noise.
Well, just to clarify what a Lunchable is,
Lunchable,
I've never,
thank you.
I've never been a person to eat it or do it. It's in this plastic container and it's like sectioned off. So you have some crackers or something like that, some kind of like lunch meat and cheese. So
Yeah,
you can like make a little cracker sandwich type thing. And then it usually has like a little sweet
yeah,
treat in there. So it's one of these things that you can, you peel the top back and then you can kind of pull these things out and put it together yourself and
crazy.
really not healthy.
Yeah, the only my son, I stopped cereals for him because I know cereal is shit. There's no good cereal. He eats now. He toasts his bread and eats some what is it called, milk and some milk and eggs. That's normally his breakfast. The only thing he eats that is bad for him is Oreo from time to time and crisps. So that one he eats that
Well,
from
but
time.
it's okay if they have that stuff. And we've kind of touched on that before, but it's about moderation. Should you have it every day, all day? No. Should you eat the whole bag? No. Um, and,
Yeah,
and that's the thing. Moderation is okay, but if that's all we're having and supplementing with, you know, you have to rethink that. Um,
no
you
problem.
know, I've always liked my vegetables and my fruits and so on and so forth. But, hey, I like a good cookie too, right? Um, but I'm not a very big sweet eater, to be honest. But I remember like years and years and years ago when I was diagnosed as a diabetic, I had to change the way I ate. And changing the way I ate, I didn't have to give up things, but I actually had to look at serving sizes. And, it wasn't just about the calories, it was about the carbohydrates, how much fiber, and getting that fiber and protein into my diet. And
Yeah,
by changing the way I ate, it really, I wasn't craving fast food things. I wasn't craving, sweets, even though I'm not a sweet eater, because I preferred fruit. I preferred, the vegetables
veggies.
and the home cooked meals.
Yeah,
And so that was a really interesting thing. But it takes the consistency of with your diet of doing it, you will see that change.
yeah,
So,
yeah,
we've talked about how white sugar, white flour, affects your brain the same way as, 'cause it's a toxin, it affects your brain the same way as drugs do. And so it no longer is what is good for me, but, oh, I need this. And that's why we have the population that we do with, children being obese and the obesity level in adults because of this. So,
true. Yeah, yeah.
having to give those better choices for our children.
Yeah, food is becoming healthy food is becoming rare also. It's not like it's not like um also the fact that it's so hard to avoid it. You go to the supermarket, 90% of the things there are actually toxic. And
Mhm.
to look
And
for
cheaper.
And
Cheaper than the good stuff.
yeah, to look for other, like I know supposed to stop using seed oils. So seed oil, for example, if I'm to buy like 3 liters of oil, that will cost me like I think 900 shillings. I don't even remember, and that would last me like 2 months. Now I have to use butter. Butter costs butter would buying like a block of butter that costs me like seed oil would cost me like let's say $9, right? Three liters is $9, I think, or maybe I've forgotten. Oh my god, because I've bought butter for a while. So now butter, a block of butter that will last me like 1.5 weeks to 2 weeks, is costing me the same as the seed oil. That
Right.
you're like, oh my god, even being healthy is expensive. And
And that's the problem. I feel like that's how we're being kept under a thumb
yeah,
is because of that. I mean, and think of all the process that processed food has to go
go
through
through, yeah,
compared to organic or natural foods.
yeah,
And here we are, it still comes out
yeah.
cheaper, not good for us. And the good for us is
It's
way more
more
expensive.
expensive. I know, like meat, right? So I don't buy my
Meat's
meat from the
ridiculous right
supermarket.
now.
I know, I don't buy meat from the supermarket. I buy meat from like there's this place that delivers, let's say they say 100% grass-fed meat. That's the only meat I'll eat. 100% grass-fed. Right? So that is more expensive and it costs me like $2 to $3 more than what people are buying the regular meat for. When it comes to
Right.
eggs, I'm buying eggs also $2 to $3 more than the regular eggs. And when I count all that together, it is more expensive. And I'm like, why is it more expensive when this is food that they should be giving us to make us healthy? They should even make it cheaper. Our farmers are actually struggling now. There are so many punitive fines and punitive things that you have to pay the government so that you plant your plants so that you can actually sell those things. Like it's so bad, it's so sad what they are doing, what they are
Yeah.
doing to us. All of us are being, you know, we are at the mercy of all these people. And you can find those people in the government actually buying organic food. They're not buying foods from the supermarkets. They're not buying the same food we are buying. They're actually getting organic. They have their own farms, right? They have their own farms where they can get their meat, they can get their eggs, and they're not buying in that store you are buying from where it's gonna kill you. You're going to give you disease in a while and kill you, while them they are living the life and eating healthy meals. Anyway, there's
I mean,
something
if you
else.
want to bring up that, you might as well bring up the healthcare issues and everything else. Because if we're subjected here in America to have crappy healthcare, well, so should everybody that's making the laws. Because I feel like if they had the same crappy healthcare, they change what's going on with the rest of us.
To be
If
honest,
they had to have those things, and that's as political as I'll get on that subject. But
yeah, I mean,
yeah.
where are the best places to live in? I think it's now time to look for best places to live in this world, because obviously the US is not one of them. There's a lot going on there also. There is a I was checking. There's this country called with an S. I forgot its name. Shit, I forgot its name. It's one. Okay, it's been listed as one of the best places to live. Costa Rica has also been listed as one of the best places to live. So I think it's also a time that, if you cannot go live on your own in the mountain somewhere, you go to a country that actually, feeds its people with healthy food, not shitty meals. Or that's
I
what
guess
we're
it's,
giving
what
access to.
your goal in life is and what you're willing to live with or without is to where you're living, if that makes sense.
Yeah, Kim, what
So,
your goal in life cannot be to eat shitty food.
no, it shouldn't be.
Yeah, especially if you have children. I think when you have children, it's time to think about it. You know, one of the things I always say is this, Kim. From a long time ago, I used to think that the way life happens. Okay, life happens, yes. I'm like, when someone tells me, Cecilia, you know, this can happen, you can do this. Then I used to say, how is that even possible for me at my situation or with this situation that I'm currently in, blah, blah, blah. I mean, there's always reasons not to. I always say this, at least dream, like dream. Yeah, I want to live in a country that has clean food, that cares about the health of its people, that I can actually own a piece of land where I can grow my own stuff. And I would actually be honest with myself that this is not the country. I just need to be in a different country that is good for me and good to raise children, especially if you want to have children. But if you don't, I mean, it's fine. You can live anywhere.
Well, I mean, I guess what I was saying is that there's no perfect place.
True.
So while one area
True.
might have something that's really passionate for you and your children's well-being may be great, but what else is there that may not be so great, right?
Yeah.
We'd all like this kind of utopia place to be in, but I mean, I've never found this unicorn of a
Yeah.
place. So it's what are you willing to live with? What are you willing to give up? That's what I
Yeah.
was saying, because
True.
there's give and take with every place that you would want to live in.
Yeah. Absolutely. I agree. I agree with you 100%. You just need to find out what are your non-negotiables. What are your negotiables? Like, yeah.
Yes,
Yeah, for
yes.
sure. For sure. I understand. Anyway, you know what? Hey, God help us. But um, things are not as easy. There's too many forces fighting the people, and it's the same people who are supposed to give be strong to be able to make tax money to finance the government, and the same people they're actually killing. So it's crazy.
It is. It is. And, just everybody as parents has to do what's best for them, what's
Yeah.
best for their family, their children,
Yeah.
and go with it, right? Because there's no rainbows and butterflies, but life is what you make it and your
Yeah.
choice. And that's where you have to make that decision that what is best for you and your children at the end of the
Absolutely.
day and within your means, whatever that is.
Yeah, and don't believe
Um,
celebrities, politicians, the government. You see, do your own research.
Right. You have to do your own research. It's just like, here in the States, we're getting ready, um, voting coming up. And so I mean, nothing but political ads. And I
I
know like
know.
my nephew, he's done with it because
I
it's stupid. I just wanted, I'm like, but it's important. It's
Yeah, I love.
important to see and to have these discussions to go, hey, people are going to put, opposing opponents are going to put out the trashy or maybe misconstrue um, some things that the other one's talking about to get you over to their belief system. And people need to go in knowing that and therefore go on and do their own research and talking to your children. I mean, because
Yeah,
our kids are 13, they're in 5 more years are going to be able to, at least here in the States, are going to be able to vote. And so they need these conversations need to be had, and I know like my nephew, he is not interested in this. Frankly, my son really isn't either. um, but I still have these conversations because they need to be educated and to
please,
know.
please. It's so important to have those conversations. Those are conversations that you've been told from a long time ago to avoid, like politics, shakalaka boom boom. We've been told to avoid. Thank you, Moha. Like those are topics we've been told to avoid, but now we are actually seeing them bite us in the back.
Right.
Because we avoided them for so long. That's why we have so many shitty leaders in power. Um, yeah, and so I know, I can't wait for the US elections to actually pass so we move on because there's a lot going on for sure.
Are you guys hearing a lot of that over there in Africa? Do you hear a lot
And
about our
I know everything. I'm on
what did
X.
they say? What's the word on the street over there? Inquiring
X,
minds want to know.
X gives me the details. We know that
X does.
if Trump gets in power, illegal immigrants are going to be shipped out. Um, I know, like, it's just like the US, to be honest. Africa is just like the US. The kind of people who exist here are similar to the people who exist there. There are those people who listen to mainstream media and what mainstream media tells them. And then there are those people who do their own research. They don't believe mainstream media. Even if mainstream media says something, they'll go find out if there's another side of the story. Yeah, but us, generally, based on what I know, most people who are ignorant want Harris to win. Yeah, and mostly because people are scared they'll be shipped out and it will be hard to get into the US. That is it. No one makes a decision based on the good of the country, or they make a decision based on their own selfish needs, you know? Like,
That,
yeah,
that, yeah, and that's where, educating wherever you lie on the political stance, because that's not what I'm here to talk about, you know, um, but to talk to your children so they can make informed choices wherever they want to vote, to do their research, like we were talking about the
yeah,
Crocs.
yeah.
From Crocs to politics, you have to be informed. You have to do your own research, and you don't just stop at because that's what I believe and that's what I want to hear. You got to dig deeper than that to really get the whole story. I
I
think that's what this is all about.
I think it's also important as parent to also tell your child, I'm voting for this particular candidate because of this, and this. Because ultimately you are making a decision for their future. Like, your children cannot vote, but what you are doing right now, the vote you are casting, is actually going to affect their future so much than even yours, because you've actually gotten to a point where, I mean, I don't say like, but it will not affect you as much as gonna affect them. Yeah, so it's important to
Well,
tell them
and
like,
understanding, because I also talk to the boys about understanding, because really, you just hear about, okay, presidential election, presidential election. That's fine and dandy. But what's really important is also voting at your state and local levels, because those are the people that
yeah,
are going to make
true.
a difference in your life. Because the president can't just do whatever he wants to, right? It has to go through the House and everything else. So
Yeah,
you need
true.
to vote at your state and local levels. Um,
Yeah.
to get those people in, because those are the ones that represent you. And so, like, having to have those, government discussions and economic discussions about,
Yeah.
the world is important, for all children, not just, my boys who I talk about, my nephew and my son.
Yeah.
So they understand the whole picture, because I think that gets pushed out and we don't talk about it enough, at least here. I don't feel like it's talked about enough in the United States. It's presidential election, but then everybody else goes to the wayside, and they're the real difference makers, are those that we vote in at those other levels.
True. Absolutely. So, so true. Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
eventually it does all matter, but let's not forget the ones that go up and fight for you, or should be fighting for you. It should be fighting for you. So, yeah, and it's, you have to. And I've kind of noticed that children, and maybe I was this way too as a child, that I didn't care too much about politics. It really, honestly, it wasn't
We did.
spoke about in my household.
Yeah.
And
We did.
so, yeah, and
They,
so I don't know though too if it's because my dad was military and you
yeah.
can't,
Thanks,
you know,
Flora.
talk about those things or go against because he was in the military. I don't know. And
Hey,
so I
Flora.
feel like that is something that I want my child to understand because I wasn't. It wasn't until I was in college that
Mm,
I even started to think really or take an interest in as far as politics. So,
yeah, we didn't talk about it. Remember, these are topics we're not supposed to talk about. Politics, shakalaka boom boom. I think there's another one. Money. Not supposed to talk about it. Shh, you just keep quiet. But it's important. I think what is important is this: tell your children, rather, tell my son, not to believe mainstream media, to do his own research, and to always know
right,
there are two sides to a story. Like, yes, this is what they have told you, but ask questions. Like, think. Just to teach them how to think for their own, to make decisions on their own, um, and to stand by what is right. There are values that needs to be
right,
followed. People, different values. There are people who have different values. Obviously,
right,
some of us grow in Christian backgrounds. We have different values, and we hold on to those values. There's someone else who has more loosely held values. I mean, which is fine still. But just
right,
for them to think for themselves, not to just follow group think, which I've seen so much of. Like the same thing being regurgitated, the same thing. Like you ask a question and people will answer the exact same way they've heard somewhere else. Like,
right,
yeah, don't you have your own opinion about this thing? Yeah. Probing
right.
further, encouraging curiosity. That's so true, Flora. Absolutely.
Ask him why. That's what we've been talking about, not just going in and accepting that first thing that shows up in our Google search to probe further, even when we find the answer that we think is right, to keep
Yeah.
asking why and to get that better understanding and not just stay at the surface level of situations,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
And,
Absolutely.
and, and you have to be, curious about things. And that's what I try and tell my son and also my nephew is to look it up. A lot of the answer I get is, when they ask me a question, because they get they don't have their phones after like 5:30 at
Mm,
night. And so they'll ask me a question and I won't always answer. And I'll go, well, look it up tomorrow and let me know. Well, I'll just go ask Alexa. I'm like, no, you know, go look, be curious, about
yeah.
things, problem solve, figure it out,
Yeah.
reason, banter. I've had to teach my son to banter back when we're talking because he used to take things personal when we had a discussion and I would ask questions that he would come to the realization that what he was saying was not correct and he would get but hurt about it. And I said, no,
Mm,
no, 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 this is a safe space. First of all, second of all, we're having a conversation, and sometimes in conversation we talk and work things out and we can come
yeah.
to these conclusions that, oh, I went about this the wrong way, and those are healthy thinking processes that we do. That's not a negative thing. So we've had to work, on that with him
Yeah, Flora says, I ask my daughter follow-up questions. Why? Yeah, absolutely. Same, please do. The
because they
thing,
can't say yes or no to a why.
yeah, why?
The only thing
Why?
they can say is, I don't know. I do get that one a lot.
Yeah, and you said there's
I
no,
know.
I don't know.
No. Think
There's,
about it. Take a minute. I have time,
yeah, you have the
right?
whole day.
Right. Get back to me later and let's talk about it again. I definitely leave conversations open if they need that time to process or think about it. Because sometimes, what they think and what they say are two different things. And that's
Yeah,
also in adults.
yeah,
It doesn't, what we think does not process the way we want it to when we speak it out. And
yeah,
so to take that minute or to say, hey, mom, or hey, dad, I need a minute to think about this. I said,
yeah.
that's okay. That's healthy communication. You can do
True.
that. Yeah.
Yeah. So, question. Let me go to the question.
Questions?
It's from a parent. Well, would you let your teenage daughter have a sleepover at her friend's house if you've never met the parents?
No.
The,
I can say straight up no. It would never happen. Absolutely not. Would not happen. And even if I met them, that would also depend on what I felt, what I saw, what I experienced. And
yeah.
that's not me being hard ass, but I mean, when I grew up, it was the same way. I didn't get to just go sleep over at somebody's house. Like my parents had to meet their parents, had to know it was a whole thing. And I wouldn't do anything different with my own child.
I mean, I never went for a sleep. My dad would not even hear of it. Like, sleepover. You have no bed here. So I never went for a sleepover. So I don't have any experience in sleeping over in other people's houses. But
I mean, and I wouldn't go, I wouldn't let him if I hadn't seen the house or anything. Like, that is important. I need to see how things are around there, how people are
yeah,
treating. I don't feel like that's overprotective, but
it
you
is.
have to know. You have to be curious.
Yeah, the other day, I remember the time my son went for a sleepover. It's the same. So I had to like go meet the parents. Or like, mom, can I go for sleepover? I was like, okay, I have to meet the parents first, talk to them because it was his birthday, the son's birthday. So I had to go talk to them, blah blah blah. Took the mom's number. I mean that I've talked to her because we're in the same neighbors group, but I didn't know it was her. So now I met her. I was like, oh, it is you, blah blah blah.
Right.
Yeah. So it's important to meet the parents, see the vibe, see the house, blah blah. So anyway, yeah. So in this case, it's I don't know. I would not.
I
And
wouldn't either. And like to each their own, but that
maybe
is not something in my playbook that I'm comfortable with. Um, mm-mm. I mean, my
yeah.
son has a phone and whatnot, but no, no.
Yeah, she should just go meet the parents and see how that is going to be, like what she feels.
Right.
Yeah.
And then make an informed decision on. And I'm curious to why she asked that and or where she's leaning toward. Like what brought that up? Is she really that confused about would you go do that? Or is there something holding her back? Because if there's something holding you back from letting your child go, then that's probably a sign no, you shouldn't let them go. You
True.
know what I'm saying? So I'm a little curious about that. I wish we could ask some of these people who write these questions, more info, asking for more info on that. So I don't know.
I remember my neighbor asked me if I'd let my daughter sleep over. I went to pick her up. Yeah.
This,
Yeah, this
I mean, my
COVID.
one of my friends growing up, her mom had a policy where she really wasn't allowed to spend the night anywhere, but she could have people spend the night at her house. So I think I would be more that way. Like I'd rather have somebody come over to our house and spend the night than my child going
To the other.
over somewhere else.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't know. To each their own. But be wise about it. Your children are only your children for so long, then they grow up and spread wings and go. So
Yeah, true. You have to
yeah.
trust,
Yeah.
trust
Trust your
them.
instincts.
Yeah.
That voice in your head is there for a reason.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, so that question, how do I encourage my daughter to eat healthy when my wife eats a terrible diet? I do most of the food buying and cooking. I try to make balanced meals. I make my daughter, who's 18, lunch for school and often ensure that she gets breakfast. She's a healthy 18-year-old. The problem is that my wife has a terrible diet and doesn't exercise. She's obese. She eats a lot of candy and chips that she buys herself and spends a lot of time on the couch. Yes, I have some resentment. Since COVID, she gained 30 to 40 pounds. In my opinion, it affects what jobs she can get and how people treat her. She's seeing a therapist and on meds for depression and ADHD. Menopause has intensified everything. I admit I'm concerned by the example my daughter sees in my wife. Any tips on encouraging healthy diets and exercise habits when one parent is clearly an unhealthy example? Or is it none of my business?
I mean, well, you're married, so it's good to have those conversations, but okay, we're talking menopause.
Chris
So
has five
hormonal
words.
things that happens, huh?
Chris says has five words.
I don't know.
Let me ask.
Probably
Okay.
is talking about including us as his kids. Um, but I mean, so one, she has, she's going through menopause. That's a lot of hormonal differences that are going in, and then the depression, there's another chemical imbalance. So there's a lot of factors that are going on. Sounds like she has taken steps, so she's getting some therapy. What she's putting into that or getting out of it, I don't know. But so she has those steps. But I'm wondering if he is having any kind of conversations with his wife about these concerns. And, we've talked about that our children are more apt to do what they see than necessarily what they're hearing. So if they're hearing, we need to do this, we need to do this, but then they're seeing this, then there's a conflict of interest and it's confusing the kids. So, this parents need to get on the same page on what is important. But I'm curious because they really didn't say, how is this affecting the child? Are they not wanting to eat? Are they going down the same path and these unhealthy eating habits?
Yeah, yeah,
Again, we're just getting, sounds like just his concerns about what
yeah.
if, what might be, but maybe not what is actually happening. So,
I think that the man is the one. Okay, the daughter is 18. 18, it's hard to influence an 18-year-old. Actually, it's
oh,
difficult.
so this is wait, you said this was an 18-year-old?
This is an 18-year-old child. The dad says she's a healthy 18-year-old. So at 18, I don't think there is any influence. If she's been influenced, she was influenced before, but at this point, it's not really her problem. I think the dad is asking this question because he's the one who has a huge problem with the wife's eating habits and how she looks
Yes.
now. So
That's exactly what I was getting to. It's him with the
he's
issues and
fronting.
needs to talk. Yes.
He's fronting this as the daughter will get the bad habits, but essentially
Yep.
it's him
Because he
with
said, I
his.
have resentments. And what you read there, he said,
Yeah,
I have resentment. So, yeah, it sounds like a him issue, and he needs to be curious about why he's feeling this way, what those resentments are. And,
but
is he grieving what his wife used to be? I mean, life changes. We marry for better, for worse. And she sounds like she's going through a thing in life right now at this time. And so
eating
asking,
on
what
the
can I
couch,
do?
not exercising.
Right. Well, I mean, but if she has depression, okay,
Because of what
there's
she's
chemical
eating.
there's chemical imbalances that are happening in there. Okay. It does say she takes medication and she's doing therapy. I'm like, okay, so how long have we been doing these and what have we been doing? Because we've talked about this before. You can go to therapy all you want, but if you're not putting in the work, nothing's going to happen. You know what I'm saying? You have to
Yeah,
put forth the effort and the work to move through and to make those changes, and you have to want to make that change in your
yeah,
life, right?
yeah.
And so again, having that open communication with his wife to discuss these needs, these wants, and being curious within himself and why he feels this way. What changed? What happened with him and the way he feels towards his wife, right?
Yeah.
And, what was she doing prior to this? And explaining that, well, you used to do this and that, and now I'm feeling this way. This is what I need from you, and so on, right? Because
Yeah.
she's not a mind reader, he's not a mind reader. You're gonna have to talk to each other and find out the root of the issue
Yeah.
that's really happening there.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, yeah, I would understand that she's probably in menopause, she's having medicine, so not even losing weight will be difficult for her if she decides, oh, you know what, I'm gonna start exercising, blah blah, losing weight. But ultimately, all in all in life, we have to face the consequences of our actions. I would
Hmm.
love to sit on my couch
And
to
take
eat.
responsibility for
Yeah,
those actions. That's what I'm saying. Like,
she says she eats a lot of candy and chips. So I would
so
love
those are not
just
helping the
even
situation at all. We've talked about
even
that.
even me, I'd love to sit on the couch and eat candy. I love candy. Oh my god, I love ice cream. Oh my god, if I would just have ice cream full in that fridge, I would just sit on the couch during the day and just eat. I would be so happy. But then I know ultimately I'll become miserable because I
Right.
will add weight. I will
That's
start.
that overindulgence. We talked
Yeah,
about moderation
yeah.
and
So
all that.
please, she just needs to get her act
So
together.
it has to figure it out. Definitely has to figure it out. And he has to figure out what he
How to get to
wants.
her.
She has to figure out like it's a hard road to navigate. I don't know how long they've been married, but a lot of it's about communication and talking to your partner about these feelings and these things that you're having and these concerns. I mean, did she go from working and doing all these things to going absolutely nothing? Like, totally, I understand this, then even taking on more weight of the world, as the caregiver of the family that he's doing.
Yeah.
So it's a lot. It's a lot. I mean, I know, don't want to admit it, somebody who's going through like perimenopause myself, I understand how some of these emotions can go, but I'm aware of them. And
Yeah.
so, and I try to make people aware of me. I'm sorry, it's like being pregnant. You have these stupid emotions that come on. I had food aggressions when I was pregnant, which is the stupidest thing. And it was so embarrassing. And they just came out. There was no helping them. But realizing that and realizing when it's coming on, to counteract that and stop. So
You all need a male. Yeah, we used to have. Remember, we used to have. There's another Chris we used to have, but then I don't know what happened to him.
yeah,
Uh,
our other Chris used to come on here, and Jerry used to come in here,
yeah,
and give that. But yeah, because I can only speak from a female's point of view, and what
yeah,
I would, hope that my husband, if he noticed something or this big change, would come and talk to me, and so I can figure out, well, okay, I didn't realize I was doing that. 'Cause sometimes getting into depression, you don't even realize that road you're going down. And sometimes, we're scared to speak to our partners, and you shouldn't be,
yeah,
because you're in it, till the end. You have to open those up and talk to them, because talking to everybody else is not going to solve the problem. You've got to talk with your partner about the issues that are going on at hand. So,
absolutely.
and and it's hard to talk about it because you don't have the person here to ask questions, or we're just kind of making guesses at what was written by this individual. I mean, as far as having an influence, this person has already had an influence, right? Because when your children get to a certain age, you just kind of then pray and hope that they have taken in everything you've done and taught them. Because, once they reach a certain age in their teenage years, they then go off and make those decisions their own based on those values that you have taught them throughout those years. And at 18, she's already hit that point.
Yeah,
Can you sure be influenced by other things? Yes. But the majority of her values and morals have already come to at
yeah,
that point. And,
yeah,
if dad's saying she's healthy, like you said, I don't feel it was the daughter, having the issue with the daughter. I feel like he's projecting his feelings through his daughter because he doesn't feel safe enough to say them to his wife, which sounds
Yeah.
unfortunate.
Yeah.
So, not true, but that's very true, Chris. He could be frustrated because he's tried talking to her, but she may have taken on the victim role and refuses to be accountable. And that's very true. And that's where you have to decide, well, what else do I want to do in this relationship? What do I want out of it? Right.
Yeah.
So, and that could also be, I agree with Chris, that could also be where his frustration comes out. But again, the what he's thinking and the way he's wording it is a different thing. And maybe he felt safer, like being putting the concern on his daughter. So he doesn't feel like, because maybe he feels like if I say something, I'm going to get backlash, from her,
Yeah.
or things are being more difficult. And that's an unfortunate thought process or issue if that is what's going on.
So, Flora, actually by 7, you should have done your work. After that, not much can change, in my opinion. After 7. Flora,
I
what
think
is...
7 years of age, because you teach the children the morals and the values
Oh,
as they're getting older, the being respectful, being nice, and whatever
zero
you've
to
taught them, hope that sticks, because then
zero
they make their
to
decisions from there.
yeah, they say 0 to, is it 0 to 8 or 0 to 7, where you are the subconscious programming. But yeah, I mean, at 18, she's old enough. She knows who she's supposed to
Yeah.
actually emulate. I think by now she knows. I think there's an age. I think from 13 onwards, you become a coach to your children, not even a parent, because at that point, they will only do what you do, essentially, not what you say. I mean, I need to
They'll
find
remember what
out.
you say later.
Yeah,
But then right now they're like, your actions are not matching your words.
yeah,
And
true.
so they got to come together. And I've said this before in many other things, whether you are together with your significant other or not, and you have a child involved, you have to come together for the sake of the child. You have to be on the same page for the child, because if the child is with me and they have one set of rules and then they go over to the significant other's place because you're not together anymore and there's another set of rules, it gets confusing. And then you get a lot of that drama between the parents and the kids bringing up, well, over here I get to do this, and over there I get to do that. And then it plays parents against each other. And
Yeah,
you know what? You guys were two adults or whatever making a decision to have a baby. You have a baby, and whether you're together or not, you have to come together for the sake of the child, and you never put the child in the middle of anything that is going on between you as parents. And they should never know that there is any issue. You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
I've heard
yeah.
it too much, and it's not okay for the child to be put in it, but there has to be consistency with the parents, whether they're together or not.
True. Okay, last question. I'm at a loss for finding a truly functional parental control app for my stepson. Title: I'm getting frustrated. We both have iPhone. He has an Android. Google Family Link sucked and was confusing to set up since we both have iPhone, and it seemed like it was made for families who are all on Android. All the other apps seem to have mixed reviews. This kid cannot handle having a smartphone with no limitations. We are constantly taking it from him, and lately that has not that has not been making him less of an asshole. I hate spying
Ew.
and invading. I hate spying and invading his privacy. We just want to trust him, but the fact is we can't. He has hid his phone from us twice and pretended it was lost. The second time he did it, we knew he had hid it and it was lying through his teeth. Found it under his bed. At this point, I'm ready to trade his phone in for a brick Nokia that he can only text and call on. I'm just looking for some advice from some qualified parents. I'm not a stepfather. I've not been a stepfather for long, and I have no kids of my own. In any case, keeps getting worse. This kid cannot handle a smartphone. Any advice? And this particular kid is 13.
So did they say how old the child was?
13.
13. Yeah, he wouldn't have a phone. If you have to lie and you're repeatedly doing the same mistakes, you are not ready to handle a phone. We've talked about this on another question, I don't know, like a week or two ago, and this is a prime example of if you're not following through and you keep making these same mistakes over and over and over and over, then maybe that phone does need to be taken care of. There is phones that you can get that all they can do is receive and make phone calls. They can't do anything else. So if it's a matter of I need to be able to get in contact with my child or they need to get a hold of me, because we don't really have household phones anymore. A lot of people don't. I get
Yeah.
that. Do that. But other than that, a smartphone with all the gadgets and cool stuff, absolutely not. They don't need it. If you just
Mm,
need to get a hold of them, they need to get a hold of you. Simple phone will do it. And you know what? Then it's like you have to prove through your actions of not lying and so on to do that. I mean,
yeah, I
and
mean,
and you're going to get pushback because I see Florida saying sometimes as parents we let things fester too long. Absolutely, but you
yeah.
have to have boundaries. You have to have boundaries with yourself and with your children. And if you don't establish those, you're going to get pushback. So if you have let this fester and you're like, now that's the final straw, I'm done. Expect pushback from your child because you will get it because you said yes and faltered back on these beliefs before, and you just have to stay strong as a parent and have these discussions with them going, I need to show, you need to show me that you can take the responsibility of handling this kind of ABC, whatever, cell phone, car, whatever, you're dealing with your child. Right.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
Yeah.
um, and as they get older, it gets more difficult
Yeah,
to deal with that. So it starts from a young age.
the guy said he's a stepfather. So the first thing that I know from this I can tell is that he's calling the stepson asshole. I think
Yes,
the
which I don't
steps,
like.
and he said finally that I've not been a stepfather for long. So it's a very new relationship, and I guess the son might be rebelling from the relationship between the mom and the step. Maybe
Very well could be.
yeah, maybe the transition was very like this is now, we are supposed to live with him, blah
And
blah
you're not
blah.
my dad. You're not going to tell me what to do.
Precisely. So there's issues here, and that's why it's such a huge problem to bring
But
up someone
still,
else's child.
but still, this is where this goes back to the parents because that is another adult. So in our house here, I don't care if you're a nephew or your son or you're visiting over here, there is a way that you treat other people, and to get respect, you need to give respect.
Yeah.
And you don't talk and behave that way to other
Mm,
individuals. Like I tell my own son, you can be mad all you want. You have the right to be mad. However, you do not have the right to throw things, yell, hit, which he doesn't do any of that. But you know what I'm saying? Like you can be mad, but these
mm,
other behaviors are not okay. So this child has a right to be angry and not accept maybe his mom's relationship with this individual, or
yeah.
not even like the rules about his phone. But the fact is, you are still a child, and there are rules in this world that you need to follow. Period. End of sentence. Did not
Yeah.
like the stepfather calling him an asshole. I don't like it when anybody says it, even jokingly or whatever, because it's not cute. These are kids, right? And we shouldn't do that. Period. End of
Yeah.
sentence. So
Yeah.
um, you have to teach your children that this is not the way we handle situations. You cannot go into your work, even if you didn't like your boss, and talk to him that way. You know why? Because you get fired. And
Mm,
depending on what else you did, you might also be seeing a date in front of the court, because if you had other behaviors, right? Your actions have consequences, and that's the end of the day.
yeah, absolutely. The reality is that most adults don't know how to adults don't know how to communicate true.
Right.
So I mean, there's a problem there. When it comes to discipline in blended families, it's a whole topic. Absolutely,
It has.
it is a whole topic. There's a lot of nuances that go on behind the scenes. because this is a 13-year-old who's being called an asshole, probably is an asshole to the stepfather, and probably will not listen to the stepfather, and probably the mom might be enabling this particular behavior. Maybe, I don't know, but maybe there's something going on there. And ultimately they'll have to handle it. I'll take the phone. Like, why does he need a phone in the first place? He doesn't
And
need
the
to
fun
use
with
a
all
phone.
those extra, that's like, more than what a 13-year-old needs. Like they don't need all that access, right?
Yeah,
I
right?
mean, so like I said, if they just need to get a hold of you because we live in that world, you can just give them a
Yeah,
phone that makes calls in and out, and that's all they can do on it, right?
yeah,
Until
yeah,
you show further. And maybe, Cecilia, maybe we need to, because we've done a topic about this before. Flora talks about discipline and blended families. It's a whole topic. We've actually had that discussion, and maybe we need to bring that back because we have a lot of tips and tricks on how to deal with those situations and tools that can help with that situation. And I understand not everybody is on a good page with their significant other that they're no longer with. And I know
yeah,
that's a real issue. And all you can do is, and all you have control over is yourself, right?
yeah,
And so that's not buying into the other's bullshit, not playing their games, and sticking by that. And so
yeah,
maybe, I don't know, maybe next week, maybe we need to bite into that again and revisit that whole topic about blended families, which we can,
yeah, true.
because it is very important. And I feel like even though we've discussed this topic, it's like when I was working as a therapist and I do groups and we'd reiterate and do these groups and I'd come back and revisit them. Because sometimes, you get what you needed at that moment out of that discussion, and then you hear it again and you learn something you didn't pick up, from the last
Yes, discussion.
topic. Hmm.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot there. It's a lot.
It is, and it's difficult, and nobody, I have loved ones in my life um, that have gone through this situation and are going through this situation, and I
Yeah.
can see from that aspect how difficult it is. When my late husband was alive, he had a child from another marriage, and so as I don't like to say step parents, I was a bonus mom, but as a bonus parent. Uh, I had to learn the ins and outs of that as well. And it's no matter how the other parent is good and if they're bad to a core, it doesn't matter what you think. And even if the child is like, oh, I can't stand that parent, at the end of the day, they're going to defend that parent till they, no matter how horrible that parent is, that's still their parent. And
Yeah.
so only saying bad things is going to make things worse. And there's really no place for that. The child will grow up. In my case, the child did grow up and saw things that happened, throughout, and understands now as an adult and as a father themselves, right? Can now see that. And that's kind of where you have to let that go and just do the best you can on where you were at and not fall into the bullshit. If kid comes home and says, oh, well, mom or dad said blah, 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 not jumping in and adding to fuel to the fire, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Even
Well,
though our first instincts we want to because it feels good, but lasting, it's not going to be good for anybody involved.
yeah, true. Wow. Okay. All right. Yeah. So I can do one last question
Okay.
because it came. Anyway, my 13-year-old finally had a breakup with his girlfriend. Personally, I'm surprised it managed to last this long, and I'm a bit sad because I liked the girl. Definitely better company than the alternative. I don't know what the alternative is, but alas, it finally happened. He told me he broke up with her because there was no fun anymore, just a chore. Though I doubt that. In any case, he doesn't appear to be overly emotionally shaken. He's cranky, cutting conversation short, leave me alone, dad, and hasn't left his room much. The 2 days of this weekend he spent mostly playing video games. At some point, he spent 4 hours playing Call of Duty non-stop until I intervened because it was way too much. Took him, his 3-year-old brother, and our dog outside for some air. But even then, he spent most of the time brooding, shooting down every attempt to approach. I'm not worried. While he's kind of a kid and won't stay put and will literally start doing push-ups just so he doesn't have to stand still for too long, he doesn't appear to be lethargic, aggressive, withdrawn, or anxious, just a bit short-tempered and wanting some space. However, he's going back to school and we'll see her tomorrow, and I'm just wondering how long he'll be like that.
Let me see. It'll be exactly 3 days, 2 hours, 4 minutes, and 5 seconds. Um,
So
there's no way to put that's bad, and I'm sorry. There's no way to put a time frame on that. First of all, we don't know your child. Only from what you said, it sounds like the child, he's a teenager, he's masking um, his real feelings. I think he may be a little bit more hurt by it than normal. And you may not know the whole truth because that may not be totally what happened. And so I think he's just trying to emotionally, he's 13. Like, what does he know about love? He's 13. You
well,
know,
he
has a
knows
lot of
enough to have
feelings
a
going on right
girlfriend.
now.
He knows enough to have a girlfriend and an alternative.
I mean, he's dealing with it. I mean, so he went from being occupied time with a girlfriend to being occupied with video games, which is where my son and my nephew are that don't have
Yeah.
girlfriends. I don't even think I had a boyfriend at 13. It's a different world we live in. And I think you have your whole life for relationships, and the dad going, "Oh, I really like this one better than the alternative." And I'm like, he's going to have many girlfriends. He's just starting life. And ah.
So true. It's crazy. The kids now, the children now are having girlfriends,
And
boyfriends.
what does that mean? I would ask, I'd be curious to ask my son, well, what did this mean you were in a relationship? What does that mean at 13?
They eat
What
lunch
does
together
having a
at
boyfriend or
school.
girlfriend mean?
They eat lunch together at school. They hold hands after school. They sit next to each other at the school bus.
Well, I mean, but specifically for him, that's what I would ask, for him. Well, what does that mean? You know, and things get boring, just in relationships. Marriage is for the long haul. If my husband hadn't passed away, I'd still be with him. There's ups and there's downs in a relationship, and not everything's going to be rainbows and butterflies 24/7, right? You're going to
Yeah,
have your disagreements. You're going to have your times that things are kind of boring. Um,
yeah,
but that's a relationship.
yeah,
And at
yeah,
13, I don't expect you to be understanding of that and to
yeah,
stay in a situation because you have no idea, right?
yeah,
Um, but if he's dating, obviously you need to have these discussions on what that looks like, and being like, you know what, that's okay. If you're not interested and you guys want to go, that's okay too. And the child needs to know that life happens. Sometimes even with friends, I have friends that I've been friends with for a long time, and sometimes there's friends that you outgrow, and it's okay that you outgrow or they outgrow you
yeah,
because you've grown in different directions, and that's
yeah,
fine. And these discussions need to be had with our children, not just in friendships but relationships.
yeah,
At
true.
13 years old, if that's what you want to call this, to understand it comes and goes. When you find your person, you find your person. And, sometimes a friendship or a relationship preps you for that one that is meant to be, you know.
Yeah, yeah, but yeah, I mean, I think I'll just let him be. I mean, yeah, there's that. If you want to
Mhm.
talk, talk. But ultimately, you need to do the things that need to be done. You need to go to school. You need to do your work. You need to do your chores. As
And
you
as long as
must
he's
have
doing
had.
all that, he's good, which it sounds like from what you read that the
Yeah,
dad
I
said he
think
was
the
doing,
dad.
right?
Yeah, the dad is a. I think the dad is just being too much. Like, yeah, these are teenagers. They're normally like moody, blah blah blah. Let him be moody as he does what he needs to do, you know.
He'll
But
figure
yeah,
it out. You could just leave the door open for him and be like, son,
communication.
hey, if you ever need to talk about this, I'm here for you. You know, that's all.
Chris is saying date to marry. Date, yeah, I mean, yeah, for your children, you can date to marry, but
I
for this
wasn't
guy,
dating at 13, so
yeah,
you know, it's just one of those things that society is different, and I'm glad that my son and really my nephew at this point are not that interested. I'm okay with that because they
but
have plenty of
Tim,
time to
Tim,
be
they're not.
interested.
Is it not interested because of lack of opportunity, or not interested because if they were in a school with
That might
girls,
be too, but I'm ignoring
yeah,
that fact and hoping.
if you put them in a class with girls, they are going to get some girls who want to hold their hands. I'm
But
telling
you
you.
know, I'm not doubting that. But my friend whose daughter is in high school, like she's not really into guys. She notices them, but she's not like, oh, I need to, right? And so, and I'm okay with Chris saying we need to stop allowing society to tell us what we should be doing. And I agree. You know, you need to do
Yeah,
what is good, and I always say that you need to do what's good for your family, and only you know what that is,
yeah,
right? Because
yeah.
you know your life, you know your children's, so on and so far forth. And what's good for one may not be good for the other. In my
Mm,
household, no, my son ain't that, he is not dating right now. And I'm not okay with that, you know, because that brings on other things that they don't need to be in. You know, it starts bringing up this intimacy, this kissing, and all these other worries. And that's a lot. They're already dealing with the hormones from
yeah.
me.
This reminds me of the previous question where the mom took the 15-year-old to get birth control
Oh
because they
yeah,
were
yeah.
dating a 16-year-old. So I think this is also bringing up like a kind of worms, because if you've already taught your child to start dating at 13, it means that essentially you're telling them it's okay, you know, you can do the things that the people who are dating do. So at 15, you're taking them to get birth control. Like, that is absolutely crazy. But again, values matter from family to family.
Hmm.
Yeah,
And you know, we unfortunately it does put us in a position as parents to maybe have conversations sooner than later about certain topics, sex being one of them, because if you're not talking to them, guess who is? Their
yeah,
peers who do not have all the information that is needed. Like I said, with my best friend, some of the things that, you know, conversations she has with me that have unfortunately come to her daughter being in school, who's the same age as my son, is just, it's mind boggling. And then working as a therapist with kids, teenagers, and hearing some of the things that were happening at a fifth grade level and a sixth grade level in the conversations, it's unfortunate that our kids have to be exposed to that, and then having to have these conversations to make sure they have the correct information moving forward, and knowing that they can be open and honest and come to you as a parent rather than their peers for advice. So,
yeah,
you know, we need to lead that, even those uncomfortable uh, conversations, you know, and it's okay. Like we spoke earlier, it's okay to go, hey, you know, can you give me an hour and come back to me so we can discuss this? So then you as a parent can get you wrap your mind head. Because let me tell you, I gave my mom a doozy at 10, and I won't go into that here. But because there's some older girls that said some things, and what my 10-year-old mind thought and what it was two different things. My mom told me, and I was ruined for the rest of my life. And but
yeah,
it was opened up enough that I could go talk to my mom as I got older about conversations that I was hearing, you know, in school. So,
yeah,
yes, or anything they're curious about that they need to look at you, not their friends. Exactly. And
yeah,
having that door open.
yeah.
Right.
Have the, yeah, open communication and see what
Hmm.
comes out of there. Uh,
Exactly.
yeah. Anyway, so yeah, that's it for today, ladies and gentlemen.
And next week we will revisit the topic of blended families and
It's okay.
communication with significant other and kind of how to intertwine those two things.
Yeah, thank you, Flora.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Ivy. Who else? Thank you, John. Yeah, John. I don't know the people I see here. Don't see anyone else. Aisha, thank you. So guys, we'll see you next Friday. Have a lovely weekend. Enjoy
Yes.
yourself. Rest
Happy
as much as
November.
happy. Yeah, by the way, it's a new month. Oh my God.
I
Um,
know.
yeah, enjoy yourselves. And thank you, Tamara. That's Ivy, Tamara. Ivy used to be my we used to work together. So yeah, I've worked together for I think almost 1 year or something. Yeah. So I know her
Nice.
from work. So yeah, thank you, Tamara, for joining. And yeah. Yeah, Ivy, yes, boss. We had fun. We had good times. I miss the people, not the place. But
Right.
anyway, yeah. Anyway, so yeah, thank you guys. Have a lovely, lovely night. And I'll see you next Friday.
Next Friday.
Yeah, enjoy your weekend. Bye bye.
Yes. Bye.